Have you ever felt like the world has turned its back on you? That no matter how hard you try, the shadows only grow longer? In 2021, a woman was named among the 200 richest people in Britain. Her name synonymous with magic itself, J.K. Rowling. But before the world knew her name, she was a mother who couldn't afford to heat her own home. This isn't just a rags to riches story. This is a journey about finding the light when you are buried deep underground. It's a story about why rock bottom might be the best thing that ever happens to you. Every legend has a beginning, and for Joanne Rowling, it started at King's Cross Station. This wasn't just a place of iron and steam. It was where her parents first locked eyes. In the world of 3D animation, we call this the inciting incident of her life. Decades later, she would transform this ordinary station into a bridge to a magical world. She believed that where our parents find love, our own magic begins. Little did she know, this very platform would one day hold the secret to her destiny. Joanne was a child of ink and paper. While others played in the sun, she lived in the shadows of giants like Dickens and Tolkien. She wasn't an extraordinary student. Teachers called her quiet and ordinary. But inside that quiet girl was a universe of dragons, wizards, and ancient spells. She spent her days daydreaming, often getting lost in worlds that didn't exist yet, building a mental library that would one day enchant the entire planet. School wasn't a fairy tale. Joanne often felt isolated, a girl who didn't quite fit the mold. She faced discrimination and felt like an outsider, a theme she would later weave into the very soul of Harry Potter. But in that loneliness, she found a superpower: observation. She watched, she listened, and she felt the sting of being different. She didn't know it then, but every tear she shed was ink being prepared for a story that would tell every lonely child, "You belong here." 1990. A delayed train, 4 hours of stillness. It was in this quiet moment that a boy named Harry Potter simply walked into her mind. She didn't have a pen. She didn't have a notebook. She just sat there, her heart racing, as the details of a magical school began to crystallize in the air around her. She could see the owls, the wands, and the boy with the lightning scar. By the time the train reached London, the blueprint of a masterpiece was etched into her soul. But magic is often born from pain. Just as her story began to take flight, her mother, Anne, passed away. The loss was a jagged hole in her heart. Joanne never got to say goodbye, and she never got to tell her about Harry. This profound grief changed the DNA of her book. Harry Potter didn't just become a boy who went to wizard school. He became a boy who, like his creator, had to learn how to live with a heart that was broken by loss. Seeking an escape, she moved to Portugal. She taught English by night and wrote about magic by day. She fell in love, married, and had a beautiful daughter, Jessica. It looked like the storm had passed. But life isn't a straight line. The marriage crumbled under the weight of instability and pain. Within months, she was fleeing back to Scotland, a single mother with nothing in her pockets but a few chapters of a story about a boy who lived. Edinburgh was cold, and Joanne was broke. She was a failure by every societal standard, jobless, divorced, and living on government aid. Depression arrived like a cold fog that wouldn't lift. These were the years of the Dementors, the soul-sucking creatures she created to describe the emptiness of clinical depression. She felt she was at the very bottom of the world, with no way out. She even thought about ending it all, but the cry of her daughter kept her tethered to the earth. Then something clicked. Joanne realized that her greatest fear had already come true, and she was still alive. She said failure meant a stripping away of the inessential. She stopped pretending to be someone else. She spent her days in cafes, nursing a single cup of tea for hours, writing as if her life depended on it. Because it did. The failure she feared became the very foundation upon which she rebuilt her entire existence. She was finally free to be a writer. By 1995, the manuscript was finished. She couldn't afford a computer or even photocopies, so she typed the entire 90,000-word book twice by hand. It was a monument to her persistence. She wasn't just writing a book. She was building a ladder to climb out of the hole she was in. She sent it out into the world, a message in a bottle, hoping someone, somewhere, would hear her voice. Then came the silence. 12 major publishing houses looked at Harry Potter and said no. They said it was too long, too dark, or just not for us. Imagine the strength it took to receive the 12th rejection and still believe. She was told to get a real job because she would never make money writing children's books. But Joanne knew something they didn't. Magic doesn't ask for permission to exist. The world was saved by an 8-year-old. Alice Newton, the daughter of a publisher at Bloomsbury, was given the first chapter. She didn't care about market trends or word counts. She just loved the story. She begged her father for the rest of the book. It was that pure, childlike wonder that finally broke the dam. Bloomsbury agreed to publish it, giving Joanne a tiny advance of £1,500, enough to buy her daughter a toy and some warm clothes. June 1997. The boy who lived finally stepped into the light. What started as 500 copies turned into 500 million. It wasn't just a book. It was a cultural revolution. Children were reading again. Adults were dreaming again. The woman who once sat in a cold cafe was now the architect of a world that united people across every border and language. The magic was real, and it was everywhere. Success didn't harden her heart. Joanne became the first person to fall off the Forbes billionaire list because she gave so much away. She built clinics, supported single parents, and fought for children in orphanages. She remembered the hunger. She remembered the cold. She used her success not to build walls, but to build longer tables. She proved that the true purpose of power is to protect those who have none. Now at 60, she looks back at that struggling young woman in Edinburgh, not with pity, but with gratitude. She realized that the dark times weren't a mistake. They were the training ground. She learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision that something else is more important. She found her voice in the silence of poverty, and she found her strength in the depth of her failure. To the 30-year-old, the 40-year-old, or the 50-year-old watching this, perhaps you feel like you've failed. Perhaps your dreams seem out of reach. Remember J.K. Rowling? She didn't find success in her 20s. She found it after she lost everything. She teaches us that rock bottom is not a place where you die. It's the solid ground where you finally stop falling and start building. Your failure is not your identity. It is your liberation. Your story is still being written. The chapters of struggle you are in right now, they are just the setup for the magic that is coming. Don't let the no's of the world silence the yes in your heart. Keep writing, keep dreaming, keep believing, because the world is waiting for your story. Thank you for watching, and may you find the magic in your own journey.